Hi guys, I'm Casey Dudley. I currently teach healthcare science at Jones County High School. Jones County High School is located in Middle Georgia. We have a student population of about 1,600 students, and currently our students are not where we would like them to be on their milestone test. Our school level administration has really taken a deep look into data analysis and gathering at the classroom level to help improve our students' test scores on their milestone test. Currently we do fall behind the state average in several of those milestone tests, and our administration has decided that we need to really focus on collecting data, understanding what our kids know, what they don't know, what we're going to do when they don't know the standard, and then also what we can do for enrichment for some of our students. So last year, our instructional coaches as a district team worked together to find a program that teachers could use in their classrooms to gather data and to analyze that data. A lot of times teachers are intimidated by the data analysis part of instruction because we kind of feel overwhelmed with the math aspect of it or just the time-consuming aspect. So the instructional coaches wanted to find something that was easy to use and did a lot of the legwork for us. So they selected Illuminate Technologies, which is a web-based program for teachers to use in their classroom. We really use it in pre and post test for unit test or chapter test so that we can measure student growth and student mastery of standards. So for this technology case, I decided to talk about the implementation and follow-up of Illuminate at our school. So I spoke with our instructional coach along with two classroom teachers, one who is on board and really using Illuminate technology in her classroom a lot, and then one teacher who is not quite on board yet. And then also just to kind of speak a little bit about my experience as well with Illuminate. I spoke with our instructional coach first. Illuminate was implemented at our school last fall with a pilot group of teachers. They selected a group of teachers who are technology savvy already and who like to use technology in their classrooms. They also chose one teacher from each content area for the pilot group to kind of be the group to test it out, implement it in their classrooms, and then hopefully those teachers can become teacher leaders for their departments and kind of share their knowledge as others got on board with Illuminate. So some of the questions that I asked our instructional coach and some of her responses were things like, how did you decide on your professional development plan? And she shared with me that the plan was to allow the pilot group to kind of test it out for the first semester last year and to gather information from them and then develop professional development for our professional learning days in the spring. We have some professional learning days early in the spring semester, so that is kind of when they shared out Illuminate technology to the whole faculty. And in those days, it was kind of just a show and tell professional development that this technology was available to the teachers now, how it is set up online, the tools that you need to be able to use it, like a laptop, possibly your desktop with a webcam attached, or using our school copier to scan some of the files. Illuminate is a data collection tool primarily, so teachers can create their own test assessments, or they can use an item bank of test questions that's linked to standards that are already created to match end of course or milestone test. Unfortunately, not all Georgia standards are linked to item bank test questions right now. So we also had to talk to our teachers about how to link their standards to Illuminate. She also told me that as the semester went on, she had some opportunities for some one-on-one time with teachers who were asking for that. and that was pretty much as far as it went in professional development. They kind of just shared that it was available, gave you a login and password, showed you a few key features in professional development, and then kind of left you to navigate it on your own and create your own test and collect your own data. So after I spoke with the instructional coach, I also spoke with one of the teachers who was a member of the pilot group. She is a social studies teacher, and she really shared a lot with me about her Illuminate experience so far this school year. She is one of the members of the group who is not able to access item bank questions that are attached to her Georgia state standards for her history class. But she really spoke to the ability of the program to allow her to add in her own link to the standards in her test questions, and she really spoke highly of that component of the program because it allows her to really understand what her students need, especially with specific standards that are going to be on their milestone test. She also shared about data teams in her classroom. She's kind of taken it from an educator's standpoint and applied it to her students in the classroom, and she has the students engaged in collecting and analyzing data and setting goals for themselves. So for pre-test, if the students meet an 80% on the pre-test, which shows mastery of the standard, they're able to move on to enrichment activities like research projects or some sort of project-based learning activity. And once the students meet their data goals that they've set in their data teams, she is rewarding them with data donuts. So she really has made it a point to have the students buy into the process. I asked her if there were any barriers to using data or Illuminate technologies in her classroom to gather data, and she said no, that the biggest hurdle is that it's time consuming to attach her standards to the questions, but it's worth it for her to understand what her students know and what she needs to go back and remediate. So she's really enjoyed using Illuminate. I also asked her, was she able to use her experience in the pilot group as a teacher leader in her department or in the school as a whole? And she said yes, that she has been able to help several of the other social studies teachers with their Illuminate programs in their classrooms, and that she's also become the leader of their data team because she has really worked with understanding the reports that are produced through Illuminate. She explained that you can not only see mastery of standards, but you can see percent of growth from the pre-test to the post-test, and that they've really found that helpful for their students. And I also spoke with a teacher who is not quite on board with using Illuminate in her classroom, and to kind of get her observations of what may have gone wrong in the delivery of professional development or what has held her back from jumping on board with Illuminate in her classroom. So she does not currently use Illuminate for data collection in her classroom. So I asked her, how did she gather data for her room to understand what her students knew or didn't know? And she uses an app on her iPad that will simply tell her the students' test scores and the question that was most missed off of the test. But she doesn't have the ability to measure growth with that app. She can't see comparison without doing the math herself of growth from pre-test to post-test. She also said that she feels like she would be a person who would benefit greatly from professional development that is kind of not just show and tell, but would allow her to actually work on the program while she had some support in the classroom. So that may have been a reason why some of our other teachers haven't chosen to use Illuminate yet, because they just feel uncomfortable and they didn't have enough time to practice or to use the technology themselves during the training. And she also said that she feels like she doesn't have the adequate supplies that she needs to use it. She has a laptop in her classroom that has a built-in camera for the students to scan, but it's not extremely accurate because of the age of the laptop, and the students really had a hard time scanning their test. So she was not able to get that information quickly, and that kind of frustrated her. So with her iPad app, she can do it automatically, a lot faster. The kids can get their scores back instantaneously, and she felt like she didn't have that ability with Elluminate in her classroom, when in fact Elluminate does have that ability to give that instant feedback to students if you have the proper supplies and tools and accessories to use with it. So after speaking with these 3 individuals at our high school, I kind of feel like as a future educational leader, some things that we should think about possibly is with new technology. We need to make sure that our professional development is really planned out well, and especially for our teachers who may not be digital natives, they're not accustomed to working with new technology. They may need a little bit more time, so maybe we can differentiate our professional development. I also think that we need to make use of our teacher leaders in our building. Sometimes I feel like administration doesn't want to relinquish that control of professional development, and they want to be in charge and design everything, when in fact we have some teachers like our social studies teacher, who is a member of the pilot group and has really taken ownership in this in her classroom. She could share her plan for student data analysis and how she's kind of had that buy-in in her classroom with our other teachers. And sometimes teachers are a little bit more flexible in their time. They could, schedule a time before school or after school where our instructional coaches and administrators may have a little less time to share with other teachers. And then also they can design professional development that really addresses specific tasks for a specific group. So for instance, like the people who have not used Elluminate at all may need to come to a session that's a little bit longer than people who are a little bit more tech savvy and have some experience with it. And then the third thing that I would say about technology use and implementation of any new program in our school, especially at our school, is just holding our teachers accountable and setting expectations as leaders. I know no one wants to be the leader that kind of comes in and sets the bar and says, this is it, my way or the highway. But I feel like sometimes there's a small group of teachers who need that kind of strict reinforcement that this is the expectation, this is what you're going to do. And if you don't do it, then we're going to have some discussions about what we need to do in the future. So we need everybody on our boat rowing in the same direction to make improvements to our student achievement scores. And unfortunately, sometimes you just have to be the bad guy and set those expectations and, make everybody realize that this is what we're going to do. So as a school, we've really focused on the questions: what do our students know? What do our students need to know? And then how do we evaluate what we do when our students don't meet the standard? How do we show improvement? And if we don't use our data collection tool like Elluminate to gather that data and to allow us to analyze the data, we're not going to really truly understand where our students are at and what we need to help them achieve to improve their scores. So again, that's just as part of that implementation process and setting that standard that we need everybody in every classroom talking about student achievement and growth and understanding what our kids know and what they don't know, and how we can meet that gap for them and help them to move forward and to increase our scores so that we are all above the state average on those milestone scores. So that is what I found in Technology Case Analysis 1.